Hi, welcome to Subramani. I'm going to talk to you a little about parts of my portfolio and this quest for multi-baggers which people have. Right. So, how would you look for a multi-bagger? First of all, to have a multi-bagger, it has to start at a small price and a low PE. And at that stage, it has no indication that it is going to be a multi-bagger. I would draw an example like you need a beautiful flower, right? A multi-bagger, let's call it a beautiful flower. There is nothing which says, nothing which looks like a flower when you want that flower, right? You can look at seeds, you can look at a pot, you can look at mud, you can look at some tools, you can look at some fertilizer, manure, whatever, and some water. None of this looks like a flower. But if you take the pot, put the mud, put some manure, sow the seed or sow a small plant, one day it will grow and it will give you a flower. Multi-bagger is something like this. When you are, what do you have to look for when you are looking for a multi-bagger? I honestly don't have an answer, because the multi-baggers which I have been completely by luck. For example, in 1977, the shares which my father bought during a FARA dilution, it's just luck. The luck translated into skill when I decided not to sell those shares. That is about all. No, that is not something very simple, but that is all. It is not that I sat and identified. I said, okay, if it's an MNC, if it is FMCG, it looks like they make good money, they pay good dividends, so let's hold on. Right now, I get a pathetic return, ROI, on the market price of those shares, right? It must be about 1%. But still, overall, I think if it gives me 10% or say 15%, out of which 2% is dividend or 1.5% is dividend and 13% is capital gain, that's fine. So I'm holding on to it. But I don't think Colgate or a Nestle or a Cummins or a Siemens is going to be a multi-bagger from now on. It may, but I'm not betting on them becoming multi-baggers. They have already become, that is luck, right? Now, markets are far better discovered today than it was maybe even in the 1970s or 1980s. Let us assume for a minute Zomato could have been a multi-bagger. Yes, if the issue had come at 10 rupees, assuming there are no past bonuses or anything, maybe it could have been a multi-bagger. But the chances are the best has already been squeezed out. So chances of it becoming a multi-bagger seem to be more remote today. My multi-baggers are also because of the fact that I was in the market and I was doing equity research. So one of those companies is Supreme Industries. When I was commissioned to do that report by a foreign bank, it allowed me the rare privilege of meeting the management. This I'm talking of 1988. And then the report was sent out to a couple of big investment bankers who loved the report. And one of those investment bankers called me and I said, you need to pay me for the report. And he started laughing. He said, look, I've identified this company for you. I don't see any reason why I should pay fees. I said, you should pay fees because only then the cost of my software will get covered. So as simple as that, why I did research. So I did that. I did Shan Interval. I remember doing Pateja Forging. I remember doing ATV Petrochem, which today is Supreme Petrochem. I did Reliance Industries, of course. So some of these shares, I just bought those shares because I loved my report. And Supreme Industries is one such company. So I just had to buy it and hold on. Then it became a multi-bagger. But I remember a very nice discussion about that company and the quality of people I met, the promoter, the CFO, etc. Right? So that was pretty impressive to say, this looks like a good company, but I can assure you it was a dull, boring company. It was not an MNC. It was not some FMCG item. It was dumb plastic chairs. So there was nothing great about the business, dull and boring. They never came on media to tell the world what a great compounder they are. Nobody talks about Supreme Industries the way people talk about an Asian Paints or Pidilite or shares like that. But it's been a good wealth creator for me. I'm not very sure how much of a multi-bagger it has been, but it has created wealth for me. Take a share like Coromandel International, 1986 I bought it and I just held on. Luckily I didn't sell too much on the way because I started trusting the management pretty early, and therefore Cholamandalam or Coromandel Fertilizer or EID Parry, Carborundum Universal, so many of those shares came into my portfolio. Have they been multi-baggers? I'm not very sure, but they've been very good compounders. So you don't really need too many multi-baggers, you need compounders. Next, how do you know that in let's say 78 or 79 or 80, how do you know whether to keep Reliance or keep RK? It's very difficult. Even shares like HDFC Limited, which I entered in 1980, it took me 10-15 years to realize, well, it's a great company and I need not sell shares just because it goes up. So I used to sell it when it goes up, and if it came down I bought it or I let it go. So would I have benefited by holding on to it? Yes. But I can't just see whether if I had held on to HDFC Limited, what would have happened. I should then have also held on to RK. I had a reasonable position even in RK, but luckily RK I sold out. I held on to Reliance, maybe it was luck. I held on to Hero Honda for about 20-22 years. I held on to HDFC Bank for some 25 years and continue to hold, right? So some of these shares you hold, some of these shares you sell it on the way up, you sell it on the way down. Kajaria Ceramics, SL Propack I bought and sold at various prices. So many of these shares you don't know whether to buy, whether to hold, how long to hold. Bharti is another share which I have bought, I have sold, I have held, I have done everything in Bharti. There was a time when sizing was a problem, I was not holding enough shares, then I bought enough shares, then I sold. There are times when it performed very poorly. Right now I think it's fairly priced, so it's very difficult to look at a share and say, will it become a multi-bagger? Will Britannia become a multi-bagger? I had no clue that Britannia would become a multi-bagger. I never liked the Wadia style of management. They never created wealth in any other company. So it was iffy kind of a thing whether to take a stake and whether changes would happen, and changes happened for the good, right? So if you're seeing the light fluctuating, it's the electricity fluctuating in Kodaikanal, and I can't help it, right? I can do the recording a little later, that's about it, but there is some electricity fluctuation. So first of all, I don't think you should worry too much about spotting a multi-bagger, because there are 2-3 things. One is assuming you have spotted a multi-bagger. How would you know that it is a multi-bagger? That's very difficult. I mean, in 1980, nobody told you that if you held on to Wipro for another 40 years, you'll make 700 crores and 800 crores kind of stuff. Nobody knew that. Even if mathematically that was possible, would you have stayed on the whole course, right? You would have at some stage decided enough and you got out, and after that the share may have gone up dramatically. And after 2000 the share has not done anything great about it. I mean, it must have been at best a market performer and nothing more than that. Now recently of course it's up. How would you have known in 1980 that this is a great share and this is what it will do? I had no clue that HDFC Limited would be a great share in 1980. Today I think it's a great share, but in 1980 I did not know about it, right? So did I spot it? No, it spotted me. Perhaps I held on to some portion of it, not the whole portion. You cannot hold on to a position completely. You have to have tremendous amount of conviction. Let's say you bought 75,000 shares of a particular share at say 30 rupees, 40 rupees, and then it went up to 80. Would you have the conviction to buy more? Or would you say, let me book some of my profits, right? It depends on that. Depends on what kind of positioning you're doing, what kind of sizing you're doing, how confident you are about the industry, about the company, about the promoter, about the accounting. You have to have complete conviction in everything. You have to be convinced that this is an all-season share. This is not a share which I would buy only for a quarter or only for 3 months or 6 months. Let us take the steel cycle. I do not know where we are at the steel cycle, but yes, all of us who bought Vesuvius or even JSW, Vedanta, Tata Steel, all of us have made money, right? There is no denying where you made money in SAIL, you made money in Tata Steel, you made money in Vedanta, you made money in Vesuvius, you made money in all of this. The question is, where are we at the steel cycle? Is it time to sell? Is it time to buy? I really don't know, right? So don't look for multi-baggers. Regular compounders are good enough. Thank you.